Of the candidates in this race, what makes you the best choice?
What I'm telling you here today. We went to that League of Women Voters forum the other night, and everybody touted themselves as a fiscal conservative. Yet, every opportunity Gary and Bob had to say that they would spend money, they did. Whereas I'm willing to say, listen, I understand that cuts like the library are hard cuts to make, but I'm willing to take them on behalf of the people of the 119th. Also, I'm as independent as they come. I mean, I've lost 2 elections because I've gone against the party, and I'm not beholden to anyone. And when I met with your competitor over on Washington Street, they asked me about why I didn't fill out a teacher union questionnaire, and I gave them my answer as honestly as possible. And I've taken nothing but heat for that. And at the same time, I've received maybe more phone calls from people who said you did the right thing. So if elected, I'm going down there not beholden to any special interest group, any PAC, any party, any group that feels that they can deliver a large vote. I'm going because I want to help the citizens of the 119th. I call them my special interest. That's the only special interest group that I'm looking out for is the citizenry as a whole. And I don't know that my competitors can say that.
Would your independents work against you in Harrisburg to some extent, in that to bring money back to the districts to accomplish some of the tasks that you want to accomplish?
Go ahead.
You need to reach out to others.
Sure, but that's going to be the least of my problems if I'm sent down there. I believe in major legislative reform. I believe that we need to dramatically reduce the size of the legislature. I believe that we need to implement term limits. I believe that we need to significantly modify and in some cases eliminate per diems for state representatives and senators. I believe that we need to grossly overhaul our campaign finance system. And I believe that we need to eliminate pensions for our elected officials. So if those things don't cause me to be an outcast, certainly coming to people for more money from my district, I think will be far down on the list of things that may alienate me down there. But these are changes that have to be made.
Eliminate pensions altogether?
For legislators, I believe that, yeah, absolutely. I know Bob has talked about rolling them back. There's a lot of talk about corruption, what we can do to curb corruption. One thing you can do to curb corruption is to take away what is just a gross financial benefit for elected officials, and that's one way of doing it. I'm not seeking election so that in 30 years I can retire with a $300,000 pension like Mr. Mello up in Scranton. And the fact that he's doing that is disgusting, to say the least.
Do you have specifics on term limits?
Yeah.
Do you think the appropriate time is?
Well, you know what? It sort of goes hand in hand with reducing the size of the legislators. Senator Argall from, I think he's Schuylkill County, Dave Argall, put a plan together where he calls for the elimination of like 2 House seats every 10 years for the next 5 decades and the elimination of 1 Senate seat for the same period of time. My plan is a little more aggressive. I think we can eliminate up to 75 House seats by year 2027. I think we can eliminate 10 Senate seats in that same period of time. And I think in order to do it and ensure that the transition is flow, you need to increase the term of a state legislator to 4 years as opposed to 2, and limit it to 2 terms. And I think in those election cycles, you can eliminate upwards of 15 state House seats in each 4 years through 2027, which results in a reduction of 75 by that year. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys. I think we have the largest legislative body in the country, second only to New Hampshire, which has a totally different form of government. We have the most expensive. We have the largest support staff. And when you couple in our per diems and our pensions, the long-term costs far exceed any other state.
And I just want to clarify then, would you support a constitutional convention as a means to address some of these areas?
Government reform, I would.
Okay.
Yeah. But if a constitutional convention is being based upon what people are saying is government reform, but the real idea behind it is to significantly change the tax structure, no. I mean, if you want to go in there and say we're going to do things to reform our government, absolutely, I'll be more than happy to participate in that.
We haven't talked about Marcellus Shale yet, and that's not in the top 3 topics that are coming up with the people you're talking to.
No.
But could you tell us a little bit about your personal opinion on it?
Well, again, and this is personal. where I grew up in Plymouth Township, when I walked out onto my front porch, what stared me in the face was a coal bank that I thought was the biggest thing on the planet Earth. And as a child, I played on it almost daily, and I still have the black specks in my knees to prove it. The fact that, the 70s were a different time with how parenting occurred, but I of course never would allow my children to play on such a thing. But so I've seen what happens when you allow industry to come in, rape the land, and leave. So I believe we need reasonable regulation on the Marcellus Shale projects. Do I believe it should take 5 years to do that, which is what I'm hearing coming from Harrisburg? Absolutely not. And if it did, it's a fruitless endeavor. We need to work now to ensure that we do have reasonable regulation, that these companies will be responsible environmentally, that they will maintain and take care of the roads that they're using to come in and out, because right now they're destroying them up in Susquehanna County. And we need to just ensure that what they're doing is environmentally sound, because that would be far out, if they damage our environment, far outweigh the benefit we receive from the jobs and the monies that they're bringing in. So I don't know. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Would you vote in favor of a severance tax?
An extraction tax? Yeah, I believe we need to do that. Yeah.
And that money would go where?
It would start right to create maybe DEP jobs, to make certain that what they're doing is environmentally sound. It would be put back into the infrastructure of the communities that they're tearing up with their roads, and it would be so there we'd be hitting some of the infrastructure issues that we talked about when we first started this conversation.
Into the general fund at all? Or?
Well, if we could, yeah. If that money could produce an excess of what we just described, making certain that the environment is properly protected and the infrastructure is maintained, yeah, we should put it in there, and that could fund some of these programs that seem to be important to many groups of our citizens.
Where do we find the funding for infrastructure improvement for transportation across the state?
We have it.
You feel that's
I believe we have it. And that's what I said once or twice. I think it's in that $5 billion of discretionary spending. That's bona fide spending. I mean that's infrastructure. I was at the job summit. And it's not just limited to roads and bridges. I mean, we had business people at the job summit saying that we need expansion at the airport. You can't send a FedEx package out of Luzerne County after 3 o'clock if you need it to go overnight. So there are things that we can do that go beyond roads and bridges that affect the infrastructure here.
You had mentioned in your top 3 gun laws. What are people concerned about?
They're concerned that the government's going to come and take them. Now, it's a federal issue, it's a Second Amendment issue, but I talk to people who say they can't even get ammunition for their weapons now. So they want to know what we on a state level can do about that, and they want to make certain that we protect their right to own and possess firearms. I think where I'm from, it is a big hunting community. Yeah. There's a lot of outdoorsmen, a lot of sportsmen down there, and this is something that hits on their radar all the time. I received questionnaires from firearm groups, from ceasefire groups, and they all want to know what the position is on these issues.